Hi everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to my channel. This is Little Mo Travels. If you have never seen my videos before, basically, I'm somebody that studied abroad back in 2016, 2017, and I just want to share my experience and talk about my study abroad experience. And as of late, I want to share more information about just my travel experiences in general and how that goes, and just want to share my experience so that other people can participate if they choose to. So pretty much I try to share as much information as possible about my own experiences and talk about stories and things like that. And so if you've never seen any of my videos before, please go back. You can look on my page. I put quite a few up at this point. I think there's like 6 or 7 of them or something like that. Maybe 10. I don't know. There's a lot. So go back and watch some. Have I have my study abroad experience on there, but I also am sharing like short little stories about things that happened to me that were kind of just funny moments or wild moments that happened to me while I was abroad that you don't want to add to a longer video because I'll just make them all long. So please go back and look at some of my videos, but this video is going to be talking about reverse culture shock, or now as it's referred to as reentry. So basically, reverse culture shock is what it says, the reverse of culture shock. So culture shock is when you go to another country and just the stark difference between where you're from or where you're living at the time versus where you're going to, and differences in like culture and like food, people, social expectations, just all the works. Just the living and the lifestyle is just different from what you're used to. So, reverse culture shock is the reverse of that. When you have spent so much time in this place, you have acclimated to this place at this point, and you're kind of like a citizen of wherever you live, and you're used to the food, you're used to the social expectations, you're used to how to live the lifestyle that is wherever you're at. And now it's time to go home. And you have to reacclimate to your own home, wherever you're from, or wherever you're moving back to, pretty much. So for me, more specifically, I experienced culture shock heavily, 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 heavily. I remember coming back and feeling really, really sad, really depressed. I had an amazing time while I was abroad, which is probably why it's like 5 or 6 years later and I still talk about it like it was yesterday because it was such a great time. I would have to say, I also think that part of the reason why I struggled so much with it is because of the transition that was happening after I got back. So I actually went during my what would have been my junior year. So my senior year in college was after I got back. So I had 1 year. I decided to change my major, so I was going to finish in 1 year. I had decided while I was abroad to become a resident assistant. And so that was something big that was happening when I got home. And just in general, I became a whole different person while I was over there. And so the me that left was not the me that came back. And of course, that makes sense because I was gone a full year, 9 months, a full academic year. And people change in weeks. Like people change. If you develop a habit, you could change. I forgot what the time period is, but I think they said if you start a habit and you do it every day, you could change in like 3 weeks, something like that. And so imagine a whole year just being immersed and surrounded by people who think differently and live differently. And you acclimate to that so that you can be comfortable where you're at. And now it's time to go home where things are totally different. So I really struggled. And I think I just had a great time. And I really became a different person while I was over there. And I had a hard time bringing that person back to the United States. So just to give some quick examples of how I changed my major. So I used to be a business major. When I went to Spain, I started out as a business major, and then when I came back, I had learned this lesson from the people of Spain that you should learn what you want to learn. You were spending all this time in school, all this money trying to get this degree, and you're learning something that you don't really care about. Like that doesn't make sense. And so the me that left was very like business minded, like, oh, we about to be out here making money with this business degree. And the person that came back was just like, I cannot sit in this classroom no more with no people that I don't necessarily connect with, that about something that I don't really care about. And so I changed my major, and that kind of put me in a different space to I guess just lead me onto who I was supposed to be. But the transition itself was very complicated because I had already taken like half of my degree in business. So luckily enough, usually the first 2 years you do a lot of your lower division courses. So your general education, you do your first 2 years. So I had just spent my junior year abroad. So that just basically meant I needed to make sure I got my major credits and just got up out of there. So that was one way I really changed. And just the way that I saw the world and the way that I saw how people interacted with people. I learned a lot about how we are viewed, as in like Americans are viewed outside of this country. And it changed the way that I interacted with people. It changed the way that I thought about the way that we do things over here. And sometimes you really have to take a step back and be like, dang, we really be out here doing stuff like this. And I don't want to dive too much into it, but it just changed the way that I thought about the United States and the way that we function as a people and as a country. So that was hard to think that way and come back here. Even now, today, I was talking to someone yesterday about how something we do here is messed up and why are we doing it this way? And they were like, you really don't like the United States of America, do you? And I'm like, no, it's not that I don't like it. I just think going to another country and seeing the way that things are done and how things can make more sense if you just do it this way, it changes who you are. It changes who you are. Another way, friendships and relationships changed. Before I left, I always use this one friend as an example. We were like thick as thieves before I left, and like you would literally always see us together. And it's funny because I hadn't thought about this until after I came back, but I was like, well, we really did only hang out while we were in school. And I didn't see that until, because, when you're in college, that's where your whole life is, especially if you live on campus or you live near campus and you spend most of your time on campus, the people that you see all around, you don't know which relationships are based on proximity and which ones are based on them actually liking you as a person and wanting to be around you as a person and wanting to be your friend, like your actual friend, until your situation changes and you realize, oh, my friends were these people. I had one friend that before I left, we were always together, and you saw me, you saw her kind of thing. And when I came back, because, I hadn't heard from her while I was abroad, and it's not like I expected to hear from too many of my friends, but it was interesting that I didn't realize I hadn't really heard from her until I had gotten all the way back. And I learned that she had transferred schools, that she was just gone. And I had no idea. No one told me. I had asked like where she had gone. And they were like, oh, she been transferred. What? And looking at me like I was supposed to know. I had no idea because I was in a whole nother country. I was not focused on other people's lives over here, which I think might have also added to it because I wasn't present. I missed out on a lot. And that's something that I had to come to terms with when I came back was that, wow, yes, my life is on this trajectory and I am experiencing something that's amazing and a once in a lifetime experience kind of thing. But people's lives back at home kept going. Friends made other friends in my absence. Other things were done. People hung out with each other. People transferred schools, apparently. Like, people's lives kept going. Just like my life kept going, so did theirs. So coming back and seeing so many different things and so many changes. And one of my closest friends I met when I came back. And new people come into play. And it's like you're not really new there because you were here before you left. But these people don't know you. They've been here for however much time. And you haven't been here. So it's kind of like having to come back to a different life. Like, it's your life because it's you, but you are coming back as a different person, and the people who were a part of your life you've been gone from their life. Now they might have seen your videos and your pictures, and nowadays Instagram and Facebook, you can post your whole experience on there and everything, and so they see that you're living your life and they see that you're doing well, but that's not the same thing as you actually being in the space with them. And so it was really hard for me because I had a great time. I did a lot of things that I wanted to do. I traveled to a lot of places, but I was a different person, and that person existed in Spain. And it was as if trying to create a space for the new me to exist here in the United States. And that was really hard. And I talk about my host parents a lot, but what was really hard about acclimating was like I hadn't really had like a standard pair of parents before who cared about my well-being on a regular basis, who were those kind of parents who were like, we're going to be on the sideline just in case she needs any help, but we're not going to be all in her business. We're just going to be around in case she needs this kind of thing. And I've had people in my life who have played parent roles who have played the role of my parents, who have done things for me as my parents. But my host parents were like, even though we were assigned to each other, they took on that role of watching over me and making sure that I was okay. Even still now, even still now, they'll ask how I'm doing and checking in on me and everything. And that's hard to be like geographically separated from. When I was in Spain or whenever I would travel, I always knew, oh, I'm always going to go back to how I am, whatever, whatever. So it was like, oh, that's cool, whatever. Not that I took them for granted, because I definitely don't. And you all can watch the video. I talk about my host parents. I really love them. Like, they are part of my family. And so I didn't take it for granted, but it was just one of those things where it was like, damn, I didn't realize that I would be this sad coming back. So, man, like having to work through that and still live. Like, still live life. You know, there's like seasonal depression, there's like different types of depression, like situational depression. People who are like depressed, like that is what they are. What they're doing is like being depressed and trying to function as a human being, trying to live life. Not saying that that was me, but if you can understand that, you can understand how I was able to come back and I showed up like my regular self. But the entire time I was like, yo, this is hard, because California is very similar economically to like London. They're always compared, because how much it costs to live in California is how much it costs to live in London. So not only was I struggling with coming back as a different person, but I was also struggling like, yo, I used to be able to, I used to be able to buy all kinds of stuff, and I feel broke. And now I'm brokety broke. You're like, yeah, I'm broke. And that's like a normal life here. And I love California, and I hope to God I never moved from here. But that was hard to acclimate back to. The cost of living was just atrocious. Because Spain is not one of those, you could really just like survive in Spain for real. And living here in California always feels like a rat race. And I'm used to it by now because I live here. But coming back to that was like, yo, it was just shocking. It was like a shock to my system. So there are a few different ways. It was just really hard. And another piece of it is, it's not like conversations were being had surrounding it. Like when I came back, it was like, wow, you're back. Congratulations. Yeah, you had a great time. And you talk about it a few different times. You have conversations with your friends. And of course, they saw your Instagram post. They saw your Facebook post. So they're with you for some of the stuff. But to me, there should be some sort of like resource, like a study abroad group where you all can sit around and talk to each other about your experiences as like a form of therapy, because you're coming back to a set of people who did not have the same experience as you, who did not get to go to Italy and eat Italian pizza, who did not get to go to Greece and see where the water is like blue, not like gray blue, not like turquoise. It's like blue. Who did not get to meet people from the other side of the world. Everybody's in a different territory than their own territory, and we're all just trying to survive and have a good time. Not everybody went through that experience, and so they can get tired of hearing it. Like, they get tired of hearing you talk about your experiences. I came back that person of, this is cool, because I got to experience certain things that other people didn't get to experience. And then when you're asked about it, or you're asked, oh, how do you like such and such? And you just be like, well, I had such and such when I was in Spain, and this ain't it. So, I mean, I guess it's cool. And you don't want to be that person, but when you come back from being abroad, that was your life. That was the life that you lived and experienced for that certain amount of time. And not everybody gets to experience that, and so they can't really relate. And that's hard, to be in a space where you just went through this amazing experience and you just want to share, but people can't necessarily relate to you. And if you're like me and went to a program where there was 32 of us that left all together, we came back, there's 31 of us. And the other person left halfway through the program. And we were all at different campuses. And so there was only 3 of us at my campus, which is better than me being the only one. But there's only 3 of us at my campus that did the exact program, and 2 of us were close. The other one, I don't know where he went, but 2 of us were close, and we would oftentimes get together and rehash and catch up and all this other stuff. And that was great to have that, but that is not the same as being able to be like, yo, I am really sad. I miss my host family, because it's like the same thing that happened to you while you were over there is now happening to you while you were over here. All the friendships that you made over there, all of the fun times that you had, all the food that you had, the people that you met, all of that is happening over there while you're over here. So when you do go back, there's so many changes that have been made. And the biggest example that I have for this is like watching my host sister grow up. Every time I've gone back since, she's been like a foot taller and doing like teenager y things and is a whole different person than what I met her as. And that's sad because I missed all of that. I got to see her 11 to 12 or 10 to 11. And then I got to see her at 12 for like 4 days. I got to see her at 13 for like 4 days, for like 2 days. I got to see her at 16 for like a day and a half. And now she's 17. And I probably won't see her this year. You get like slivers and like pinches of time and pieces of an experience that's not the same as living there full time. So it sucks. It really sucks. Another piece that kind of sucked was losing my Spanish. It's like a skill that you like develop and you put a lot of time into it. And then because that's not what is spoken around you, you lose it. It's not like riding a bike. You have to work at it if it's not your native language. And especially if you're not in the environment to develop it. So I'll be on my little Duolingo, which is not the same. I have my little workbooks. I still have my workbooks that I had while I was in class over there. And it's just having to switch an environment like that so fast. It was just a lot. It was a lot. And like I said, that was my last year in my undergrad degree. And I was going to graduate at the end of the year. I had all these things that I had to do. So I didn't really have time to process, but it wasn't really talked about. So it's not like I knew that I was missing a piece there. This was just something that came to where after a while of like being there, I was like, damn, I really never really talked about how much that was hard for me to have to come back to the United States after being abroad for like a year. And so what's nice about this though is that nowadays it's a conversation that's being had. It's like, yo, our kids, when they are coming back, some of them are really struggling, trying to get back into life as they used to know it, but it's not the same them. And so we have to warn them about it on the front end before they leave. And then we have to make sure that they're okay when they come back. We have to do the work on the front end and on the back end to make them aware of that this thing exists, but also to make sure that they have the support that they need when they come home. All that to say, reverse culture shock really did a number on me. It took a while to get back to, okay, this is life. This is life here. I do recall I've lived here my whole life. I think I turned 23 I was over there. So I spent 22 years in the United States. And then coming back as a different person, having to reacclimate into that was hard. But I'm just really glad now that they have resources for kids who are coming back to be able to talk about it, and experiences like our program. They have a conference every year where they ask folks who studied abroad to come back, study abroad alumni to come back and speak about their experience and things like that, and to highlight other students' like experiences in other ways. So there's so many opportunities for us now to be able to get that off our chest, and I'm glad that that's something that has changed drastically to help support students who are coming back after being gone for so long. So that is my episode on reverse culture shock or reentry, and I hope you all learned a little bit, maybe to inspire you to look it up if you're thinking about going abroad. Hopefully you can take this time to look it up and see what this is and try to understand it. Yeah, anyway, all that to say, thanks for watching. Please take some time to check out some other videos. And yeah, I appreciate you all.